than Santa Claus.
You weren't on the desk.
Uh-huh.
And Al.
Don't give me anything else to read.
Talking about the 11th. And I had 2 or 3 people.
That's what you were there for. I just want to see
The tree item.
Thank you.
5 feet long.
I didn't get it. We took him to Smokey the Bear.
He come out, I saw the guy that was wearing the costume. He came out, took it, his shirt said, "No, it's Jeff here."
Is Jeff behind you? Is Joanne gone?
Good to go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thursday, November 10th meeting of the Asheboro City Council. I want to remind you that it is live streamed and you can watch it live tonight, or you can catch it on YouTube anytime, or the city website. I'd like to welcome you all and invite you to stand with me and join me in a moment of silent meditation, and we will follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. As is customary, this is the appointed time for the public comment period. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on any matters of city business or concern, this is your opportunity. So we just ask that when you come up, that you print your name on the sign-up sheet here as you speak. And the purpose of printing your name there is so that when we transcribe the audio tape of the meeting, that we'll get it right, because we can't always tell from the tape the correct spelling or whatnot. So we just ask that you print your name on that list if you speak. And I would also remind council, I went back last month and watched the YouTube video of the meeting and realized that some of us are not speaking loud enough, me in particular, for people on YouTube to have a good idea of what is being said or what is going on in the meeting. So, council, if you will pull your microphones down close, speak toward the microphone, and anybody in the audience that is addressing the council, if you will speak into the microphone at the podium, it will help. I never realized that it was so difficult to hear what we were saying. So, just a reminder. Who would like to go first in addressing the city council? Anybody? Dwayne, come on up.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening. Dwayne Roberts. I'd like to read you one verse from the God's holy word. It comes from Proverbs 22:28. Remove not the ancient landmarker that thy fathers have set. I've listened to the rhetoric about businesses and people not coming to Randolph County and Asheboro because of our beautiful Confederate Memorial. I come down Sunset a few minutes ago and you can't, well, there were a few parking spaces, but very few. So it looks like to me there's plenty of business here. I also noticed 2 new businesses, and at least new to me. One was the Black Lantern and the other one was the Bun Hut. Come across my phone a week ago, Archdale plans largest new development. Archdale, more than 500 homes are slated to build on more than 200 acres. I guess they didn't do the research. Honda Jet, Toyota, I guess they didn't get the memo that we had a Confederate Memorial here in this town. And Four Saints Brewery set their memorial, their business up a block and a half away from it. Just one more quick comment. The striped banner behind you that you do the Pledge of Allegiance to, it's the one that brought the slaves here, not the flag that's etched on the side of that memorial. It didn't bring not one slave over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, David.
Is there anyone else? This is your opportunity to address the council. Anyone? Okay, we'll close the public comment period and move on to the consent agenda. Council, you have in front of you items on the consent agenda for consideration. Is there any item on the consent agenda in front of you that you would like to remove for individual discussion or consideration? And if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is presented in front of you.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Burks to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Item 5, I'd like to call on Ms. Amy Rudisell and Mr. Al Pratt of Downtown Asheboro Incorporated. Welcome.
Hi, Mayor and council members. Good evening. I am Amy Rudisell. I am interim director for Downtown Asheboro, Inc. And we have received we're bringing a request to you from J.B. Davis of Farm at Little River, LLC, who is a business owner at 130 South Church Street. He is requesting, if possible, to increase the Zoo City Social District down to Academy Street so that they would be included in the Zoo City Social District. So also, one of the things that we were going to mention is like any instances that we've been aware of for social district.
Yeah, there's been some discussion, Al Pratt with Downtown Asheboro, Inc. There's been, obviously, there's always a concern of are we having problems with the social district, and to our knowledge, none have been brought to the attention of Downtown Asheboro, Inc. as far as since the social district was put in place. And so this is just a request to extend for a business on Church Street that has made that request to be included.
And did you, just for the council, did you talk to the neighbors on Church Street so they know that the application's in?
Yes, I did speak to the business owners, a few on Church Street, to let them be aware of that.
Thank you. All right, Mayor, so the council want to move forward with extending the social district. You would direct the city attorney to prepare the ordinance and the city engineering department to prepare the map to add it to the district. And there's been some amendments to the general statutes in the short session last summer too. So the city attorney will bring all that to you in December if you choose to do so. council.
Any questions of the downtown Asheboro representatives?
Amy, you said you spoke to the other people, other businesses on Church Street. Did you get any pushback, or what kind of, that information?
The two businesses that I spoke to this week, one was Dusty Gregson with The Table, and then I also talked with Lori and Todd Trotter that had just recently bought a building right beside Positano's. And so I think there was some concerns from Dusty Gregson, and the only thing that she was concerned about is if, because I know she is going to be opening for desserts in the evening. Not exactly sure when that will be, but I know that was kind of one of the things she brought up, was that they were going to be open in the evening. And her concern was just that, like, let's say if someone did go to Positano's and, you know, got the social district and then came there thinking they could bring it in. She didn't want to be negative about it, but, you know, that was one of the things she was concerned about. And so I talked with Al about it as well. You know, with the social district, the Zoo City Social District, there's a sticker yep, go ahead.
There's a door Klingon that everybody's kind of familiar with that indicates if that business is a participating business in the social district, i.e., you're welcome to bring your drink in here. Otherwise, it's kind of, you know, off limits. You can't bring a drink into another alcohol ABC permitted establishment, and the only establishment you can bring it into is one that actually displays that Klingon and says that you're welcome to bring that in.
If you bought it there, you can go there.
Yeah, if you
can't go
brought it in,
places, whether they're
yeah, you can't go from the,
you can't go there.
right, if it's another ABC permitted, you know, say for example, you can't go from Positano's to the Flying Pig and take in a beverage. You could go to a non-alcohol establishment with your drink, provided that establishment has a display on the door that says they're part of the social district and the drinks are welcome. You know, I kind of akin it to, you know, the no outside food and drink kind of thing that I think everybody's been used to since they were a kid. You know, it's just, and some of it's just common courtesy. You just don't bring it into a place that's already serving something.
It was a concern that was initially expressed when we first debated the social district, is that certain people did not want to be in the enforcement or gate guarding business. They didn't want to have to post somebody at the gate, at the door, saying, you can't bring that in here. So far, it's not seemed to be an issue with most everybody. I would like for clarity to make everybody in the room aware that the request is coming from another restaurant that does serve alcohol. They are a alcohol permit holder, and they were kind of disappointed they were not included in the original map of the social district, and we heard from them right after that map was approved and published that they wanted to be, and for whatever reason they were not. So this is kind of a little housekeeping for them also. The request came from another restaurant. So
That is correct. It's not DAI trying to push the boundary. It is another property owner and business in downtown who has a desire to be included.
So, for example, while there's a subtle difference, you can't carry a drink into the antique mall.
That is correct.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
it's
that's up to the individual.
you can if they accept it.
Correct, but it's up to the individual.
can if they accept it.
Right.
If they don't have
If they don't have,
a prohibition in their store, you can. That's the whole point. You can leave the pig or the cantina
Okay.
or whatever and go window shopping. You can go in any store downtown in the boundaries of the social district that will allow you to
You
bring
can't-
that
you can't
alcohol.
go in
You
another
cannot
permit-
go
ABC
into another
permittee.
permit holder.
correct.
Another alcohol permit holder, you cannot go in.
That's correct. If the business holds a permit, ABC permit, you're not allowed to go in there by state statute. You are able, and I'll give you a prime example on Sunset.
The ones that escaped me, I'm glad to know this.
Yeah. So on Sunset, I can tell you that I know of at least Minkology, which is used to be Vintage Cottage. You know, they welcome a beverage in there. And so, you know, while their folks are shopping, if they go to Lumina and get them, a glass of wine to go, they can go meander through. The Antique Mall is a good example of someone who does not want it in there, and therefore they don't post a sign for allow those outside drinks.
So you,
The only prohibition by ordinance is another permit holder.
so it's the store owners just put up yay or nay?
Pretty much they put a yay if you're welcome.
I am,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, that's one of the technical corrections that'll be coming to you when I bring a package forward, because the General Assembly did make some amendments which give more ability to work it into the local ordinance to state you have to put a sign up or some indication that you are participating to allow people to go in. And that's one of the things that'll be clarified in the text that'll be coming to you.
Mayor, I think we kept it small so we could just sort of test the waters to see how it was gonna work. I'm not aware of any difficulties we've had.
I must admit, the only difficulties we have are the ones that we had prior to the social district, and I don't know any way to solve those.
So, I would ask that we direct staff to explore the possibility of expanding to include the business that has made the request, together with any statutory changes, passed by the state.
And may I ask, do we need to do any other outreach, just so as to minimize the amount of return trips that other people may have to make if there's someone else? I don't know how thorough the discussions have been. If there's anyone else while we're working on the map, so as not to do it piecemeal, if there is anyone else, I have no idea.
Well, there is some discussion, there's been a request made of DAI, and I will let you address that. Fayetteville Street.
Yes, there's a couple of new businesses that are going in on Fayetteville Street, most notably an expansion with Four Saints that will include a distillery and a separate entrance that'll be off of Fayetteville Street solely, and not a rear entrance from the Bicentennial Park area. And so they are, or will be, stepping before this council at some point in the near future and making that request. They anticipate, we found out today, of being done with construction towards the end of January, and hope to be operational sometime in February. And so if you're looking at covering your bases, so to speak, it would avoid another trip back down memory lane in December probably.
And there were two other possible permit holders
Correct.
looking to open on that South Fayetteville Street section. And quite frankly, I thought we could address it when they got open and made the request, but for expediency, Jeff's suggesting that we might want to consider doing it all at one time and not having to keep coming back.
Go to the corner of Academy with Times Square?
Yeah.
Mayor, is.
That would make it clean.
The original motion to include the sole business that had made the request. I think we can explore the possibility of expanding it to the west side of South Fayetteville Street.
That may be good to have city attorney and Ms. Rudisill here as our interim director have those discussions as far as what may be included.
I think that's a good idea, because the folks that were in opposition the last time, they said they're gonna keep coming back to you and coming back to you, and here we are. Yeah. So, yeah,
There was concern that it was the foot in the door syndrome, and that we started small with the idea of getting bigger and bigger, but this is more about accommodating the people that the law was meant to accommodate.
Correct. And I'd like to point out, as Mr. Mayor pointed out, this was a request from a property owner and business owner. It is not a request of DAI specifically, but coming through us. So it's not that we're foot in the door and trying to keep wedging it open, but it, as Mr. Mayor pointed out, it's accommodating those businesses who feel slighted and left out of the original plan.
All right. So your motion, you want to restate your motion, Mr. Bell?
That we advise staff to propose a draft modification to our existing social district to include the property on South Church Street as well as the west side of South Bevel Street, together with incorporating any statutory changes initiated by the state.
Down to Academy.
Not beyond Academy where it is now, right?
Just the west side.
Yeah, just,
And on Church, not past the beginning of the farmer's market.
Farmers Market. Which is what?
Further south.
Hill Street,
No
Not
further
further
south
south
than the end of the building. Or
but then they can't go
No,
in. I mean, I'd say.
probably includes the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Go down to
until-
Hill Street.
I'd say to Hill Street.
Yeah, Hill Street.
North side of Hill Street.
Yeah, I would say our concern would be road,
I'm thinking.
I've had some discussion with, city manager John Ogburn. Concern comes in when we do events, if we don't go to where a natural road closure would be, then we find ourselves in jeopardy of having, an event larger than the social district and therefore suspending the social district unintentionally due to the language on the ordinance.
We're already having that issue. Bigger events in our social district can accommodate. All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Moffett, discussion? Just for the record, let me add this, just one item, and this is from personal observation. Our social district does not absolve people of following the alcohol rules in cars. And I have
It does not.
seen that, the damnest thing I've ever seen. People, I don't know if they believe the social district allows it or what, but, I've seen them right there in front of my building, get in the car with 2 drinks and drive home with a kid in the back seat and the child seat. So, can't fix stupid.
No, you can't. I would enjoy having an officer standing there to witness that myself.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Will this come back to us at the December meeting, Jeff?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And this is a motion directing.
Let me ask you a
staff to
question.
come back with-
Are we continuing this tonight to another time till we write it up? Is that what we're doing?
We are, the motion is to direct staff to come back with a proposal at the next meeting.
So we're not deciding this issue tonight?
No.
That they brought it up. I got you, okay.
I'm sorry, I got my back turned to you. You probably hadn't
I
heard me.
was having trouble hearing it. Yeah, I'm getting old here, man. How to hear it goes.
So to add to that, we'll, the city attorney and we'll work on the language, and the engineering department will make maps so you can, everybody has a visual. It's a lot easier to see than it is the southwest corner of South Fayetteville Street. And so we'll have, maps as well as the language, and we'll spell out some of the language in the general statutes makes the issue about gatekeeping a lot easier.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate your work on
Thanks for
behalf
the
of
time.
Downtown Asheboro. Welcome. Chief Summers. Come on down. You don't have to put your jacket on for us.
We're family.
Although you look very professional in it.
You getting ready to give us some good news, you might want your jacket on.
I figured he's asking for money and he wanted a shield.
He's already got all the money he needs for this.
Hey, my house is a standing up. You got my vote.
I'm just glad he knows where to start.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Auditor. As always, it's a pleasure to be before you to give you an update on Fire Station number 3. When we started this project, we utilized the following methodology to not only identify if there was an actual need, but also the most advantageous area to locate this fire station. So we started with number 1, the growth rate. Number 2, response time. 3, call volume. And I say Station 1 continuity. Actually, that should just say Asheboro Fire and Rescue continuity. And finally, the ISO rating. According to the census in 1970, the population in Asheboro was approximately 10,797. Today, the population is 28,000. That's an increase of 17,203 citizens. In addition, the population and service demand are expected to increase as new projects unfold. For example, the Sportsplex, the Ag Center, new subdivisions, specifically in the southeast part of Asheboro, and finally, the opening of the bypass. Response times. NFPA 17 states that the first arriving company should be on the scene within 5 minutes, whether this be a medical or a fire call. This increases the chances of mitigating the incident effectively, efficiently, and safely. Currently, Asheboro overall response time is 5 minutes and 2 seconds. However, our response time to the southeastern part of Asheboro is 5 minutes and 14 seconds. As the data indicates, District 33 has a challenge meeting NFPA 1710 standard. Let's take a look at the call volume. In 2018, we responded to 3,274 calls. In 2019, we peaked to 4,200 calls. 2020, 3,671 calls. 2021, 3,423. You see a slight decline, and that can be contributed to the pandemic. However, if you look at 2022, 4,263 calls. We average approximately 450 calls per month. If we continue on this trajectory, we will exceed 5,000 calls. And this is pretty significant. And it's taken a toll on the men and women in the department.
Chief, before you go, 20 and 21,
Yes, sir.
it's kind of we had many more medical calls due to COVID.
Yes.
But the economic activity was a lot slower, so there wasn't the fire calls and the traffic accidents and those type calls.
Yes, it was medical, but typically in the fire service now, medical calls make up approximately 62% of our calls. Station 1, operations and continuity. Currently, at Station 1, staffing is 15 firefighters and 7 support personnel per shift. This is a maximum of 22 individuals occupying Station 1 at any given time. To maintain the health and wellness of the firefighters and continue to provide the service the citizens of Asheboro expect and deserve, we had to relocate one of our companies to the county EMS base. And I'm here to say thank you to the county for their generosity. As you can see, Station 1 and Station 2 are at maximum capacity. Station 1 was built in 1971, and it was designed to house 16 firefighters per shift, in addition to administration office. Station 2 was built in 1972, and it was designed to house 5 firefighters per shift. Right now, we are at capacity at Station 1 and Station 2. ISO rating, excuse me, that's the Insurance Service Office rating. We currently maintain a 3. However, we anticipate with the addition of the 3rd fire station of lowering this rating to a 2 and possibly a 1. The 1 is best you can achieve.
And what does that do, Chief, if you lower it to 1? What's the benefit of that?
That is a significant savings to our citizens when it comes to their insurance premium. In addition, it helps other organizations, especially companies that's looking to relocate to a community. It's going to help them with their insurance premium. So it helps impact other companies through the.
I'm intrigued to hear that a one is even on the table.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Thank you. What you see, this replica is an example of what Asheboro Fire and Rescue Fire Station number 3 will look like. The proposed layout of that particular facility will be a two-story masonry structure, 12,000 to 15,000 square feet. 3 bays, an exercise room, kitchen, day room, dorm-style bedrooms, restroom, decontamination room, clean room, laundry room, bunker gear storage, and finally, a EOC. This will be the unique aspect of this fire station. It will house a dedicated emergency operation center. What's the process? What's the progress report thus far in terms of building fire station number 3? We have determined the need. We have solicited input and guidance from council. We've determined the most optimal location. We've secured funding through the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We've submitted our EOC grant application. Mr. Ogburn, he signed the memorandum of agreement. Mr. Nuttall is working diligently to identify and hire a firm to provide an environmental historical preservation assessment, keeping in mind no funding will be released until this assessment has been completed. Next, hire an architectural or engineering firm. And last but not least, input, solicit input from the community. Before we go to the questions, this fire station will serve the community and the department for 50 to 60 years. We want it to be a shining star, something that the citizens can be proud of. So we definitely want to get this right. Deputy Chief Cockman will chair the building committee. So if there's any questions, and if I'm not available, Deputy Chief Cockman will be able to answer those questions. Are there any questions?
If you can get 50 years out of this next station like you did the first 2 stations, we're in good shape.
That's the objective.
I think you can get 50 years use out of that station, if not more. With the infill that we're starting to see coming, I don't know that geography is going to allow that, and that's a positive thing. That's a positive statement. I think I certainly hope our growth will outrun that statement on you. You can look after 3, you can look after 4.
Well, that's the thing. We can get a 4th one when the time comes. But are you prepared tonight to brief us on your funding to date?
Well,
Or would you
we know
prefer John do that?
Yeah, Mr. Ogburn.
We have secured, just for our folks in the audience and the video, the city has secured a $3 million grant
$3 million.
from the Federal Emergency Management
Yes.
Agency. That's why Chief Summers mentioned it. We have to go through the federal procurement process. See, it's a lot of steps. One of those is all the historic preservation and environmental protection. And then we also received a $1.9 million grant from the state to match that 3.
Yes.
And then we'll put money in and build the project. So we're at the point now where identified property, once we get the RFQs received, we'll pick a environmental firm to do that study. We'll come back to the council, and then we'll start on the process. We've had contact with property owners, and they're interested in selling to us. So we think we're going down the process. It's a complicated process.
It is.
It has a good outcome.
It is.
Well, you've been looking at property for over a year.
Yes. property is at a premium.
You think?
It's it's at a premium. And,
Straight shooter, that's why he's.
yeah.
Depends on which side of that you're on, whether it's bad. What about additional trucks? What are we looking at there?
We are putting together, we have a apparatus committee, and we're putting a plan together as we speak. We are looking at maybe purchasing a Quint. Now, Quint is dual. It can operate as a ladder company or an engine company. And we want to put it up north. Up north is a single base station, so they're up there by themselves. If they get a call, typically the response time from station 1 to station 2 is approximately 5 minutes. So, but we are looking at putting our apparatus plan together. And the first thing we're looking at is Quint. And also with the new station, becoming the council, looking to purchase an engine company to go in the new station.
I'd like for the audience to know that we have totally remodeled or renovated both stations. We've changed our sleeping arrangements from two shifts using the same bed to everybody having their own bed. The Murphy beds, we did that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so nobody shares a bed. I mean, nobody sleeps in a bed that somebody else had just slept in.
That's it.
Everybody has their own bed, and we've redone the buildings, new windows in certain places and new paint.
Complete renovation for Station 1 and Station 2. The project has taken approximately 2 to 3 years to complete. In terms of the bedrooms, which was ideal during the pandemic, kudos to Chief McGloin. He's the one who set this up. He was before his time, before those was even thought of. Prior to that, it was open bedrooms. And where I came from, it was just open. And in fact, it took me a while to get used to this. But yeah, kudos to Chief McGloin. Yeah.
Chief, what about the staffing at the new station? What are you anticipating the staffing will be there?
Yes, we had some conversation with Mr. Ogburn, preliminary conversation, if you will, about maybe adding or recruiting 12 to 15 additional firefighters to go in the new fire station. In fact, we putting a recruitment program together, and we want to recruit in the neighborhood and send these individuals to recruit school. So we want to recruit from inside the city of Asheboro.
Chief, while you up there, are we making any special preparations on emergency management for tonight or tomorrow based on the weather forecast?
Based on the weather forecast, it seems like it's just going to be rain.
We got our fingers crossed, don't we?
Yeah. Now that I say that, you know, everything breaks loose. Yeah. The chief said it was just going to be rain.
Mild erosion.
I think another point of information for the audience, in the last year, you've been certified as rescue. You're fire and rescue now?
Yes, we're certified as heavy rescue. In fact, currently, we're going through trench, and you've probably heard about our trench rescue class, and we're getting certified in trench right now. Our employees here in the city of Asheboro are in these trenches each and every day, confined space. So our firefighters are now going through trench and confined space classes, and they will be certified in those areas. And that's in addition to heavy rescue certification.
Prevention is the only real tool there. That's a tough situation.
Yes.
That's a short fuse.
Now, you'll run we just purchased in the last 2 years the rescue truck.
Yes.
And aerial truck. You'll run that for the council. You'll run that at Station 1 to both ends.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, now the rescue it does. Yes, it's a dedicated resource now. So we've got a company officer that's over the rescue unit now. And I would like to say that men and women with Asheboro Fire Department, they do a phenomenal job. And I tell them quite often, I appreciate them letting me take the journey with them.
I think you're doing a great job too, sir.
Thank you.
I want the citizens to understand what we do there, how we do it, and that they can rest easier that, we are keeping our fire service up to date and, on top of everything, so. We've had this conversation recently, but we can't grow north because of Randall.
Yes.
We really can't grow to the east because of Franklinville. So our growth pattern will be down Zoo Parkway, to the south, the southeast, 42, Zoo Parkway, all of that. And so that's why the location of this third station is south of Dixie Drive.
And in addition to that, Mayor, if I may add, our response times currently is 5 minutes and 14 seconds. The quicker we can get on the scene, the more apt we are to make a difference, a positive difference.
Now, if we can get DOT to cut Crestview Church Road over to Browers Chapel, we'll be in great shape.
That's in your wheel.
That just makes sense. Crestview Church Road straight over to Browers Chapel.
Yes.
And as Asheboro grows over the next 10 years, that's gonna become more and more, necessary. more
They
and more
waiting on a
important.
private developer.
Go ahead.
They're waiting on a private developer.
All right, so,
It'll happen.
any other questions of Fire Chief? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nuttall, item 7A is a legislative hearing, an application to rezone property at 1622 Zoo Parkway, on the west side of Zoo Parkway and approximately 200 feet north of Ridge Street from B2 to I1 zoning. Mr. Nuttall.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Before I begin, I will announce that this case has been properly noticed and advertised. It is a legislative hearing before the council this evening. It is a request to take the property from a general commercial zoning district to a general I-1 industrial district.
I neglected to open the hearing, so for the record, the hearing's open.
Thank you, sir. The applicant on this is the owner of the property, JBBC Properties. Mr. Crumley is here this evening representing the owner. The address is 1622 Zoo Parkway. There is one parcel ID involved in the request. It's just under 1.7 acres, and currently the property is undeveloped. If you look at the overview of the zoning in the area, you can see the subject parcel outlined in blue. That red denotes the commercial zoning in the area. The lighter purple and darker purple shades are existing industrial designations that are to the west and north. And any yellow or orange area on the map denotes a residential designation. So you can see this is in the middle, kind of on the southern end of our existing commercial corridor. And then once you pass Ridge, we get into primarily residential land uses and zoning. So just zooming in a little closer on the property, any letter identified on this map is considered an adjoining landowner and would have received notice of the hearing this evening. Of course, letter A is the subject parcel. Topographic and utilities map shows city services both in Ridge and in Zoo Parkway. We have both water and sewer in Zoo Parkway, and then water primarily in this area of Ridge Street. You can see from the topographic map, the property falls as you move west towards a drainage feature that's to the rear of the property. This is a aerial photo from a few years ago, but it does give you an idea of where this property lies in relation to the adjoining development. Again, we have vacant B2 conditional zoning to the northern two parcels. Then you have the shopping center further north in the general B2. Oliver Rubber is a general I2 zoning district that is contiguous and adjacent to this property. And then you have the gas station, convenience store directly to the south. We do have some adjoining residential uses to the south and west, and then across Zoo Parkway to the east. Just to give you a different perspective, this is an oblique photo with north oriented towards the right of the slide. So Ridge Street is going west towards the top of the screen. The star is giving you a sense of this property's location and what is surrounding. We have a few photos. This is looking at the subject property from Zoo Parkway. This is a different vantage point, but still along the frontage of the property along Zoo Parkway. And then this is a view looking north towards Dixie Drive. The subject parcel, we're at the northern limits of the property. It's behind and to the left. This is a view from the subject parcel looking south along Zoo Parkway. You see the gas station to the right there. And then we took a picture of Ridge Street south of the subject property looking west to existing residential uses that are in the vicinity. So we turn to the analysis on this request. The property is within the city limits. It is afforded a full array of city services. Those services are presently available to the property. Zoo Parkway is considered a major thoroughfare. It is maintained by the NCDOT. I will point out that even though this is a industrial district that's being requested here this evening, in your zoning ordinance for properties located on thoroughfares such as this, if you were to grant this industrial district request, the property would be held to the same B2 general commercial design standards. So primarily that means that front-facing facade would have to be something masonry, something other than a metal front facade of this building. So there would be some design standards that were required. This section of the Zoo Parkway between East Dixie Drive and Ridge Street, as you saw from the zoning maps, primarily commercially zoned and developed with some limited interspersed industrial and residential zoning. If you read the definition of the I-1 district, which is what's requested here this evening, it is to produce areas for manufacturing, processing, and assembly uses, as well as commercial uses, distribution, and services enterprises that are controlled by performance standards to limit the effect of such uses on other uses within adjacent districts. So there, within the ordinance, there already are standards addressing noise, odor, and light for all uses that may be permitted within this zoning district. Those would be in effect should the request be approved here this evening. You may remember that earlier this year, council did approve a conditional zoning B2 commercial designation on the adjacent property to the north. That approval was for manufacture, processing, and assembly and related retail shoppers and convenience goods. So we already have a quasi-industrial district that this property is abutting. When you look at the land development plan, central small area plan, it recommends for some accommodation for new industrial uses. That map actually identifies industrial areas with the goal of accommodating industrial development that is already present and providing some opportunities for new growth. It also advocates for preserving and revitalizing existing residential neighborhoods. That is a key issue if you look at the land development plan applicable to this property. The LDP categories for the definition of the industrial district in the LDP is to expand existing and develop new industrial uses requiring transitional uses and buffers. So when you read the definition of the district and what the LDP is advocating for, there is some alignment in those in that text. I will say that the forecast of the proposed land use map, when that was refreshed several years ago, was for this property to develop as presently zoned, which is a commercial designation. The plan at that time expected any new industrial development to actually occur along the north side of Ridge Street to the south of Oliver Rubber. That was where the plan thought expected the most likely scenario for any industrial expansion. But with the council's prior action, and if this request is approved, that will actually shift over to Zoo Parkway. And then when I get to my recommendation, I'll discuss that a little bit more. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of what the LDP is recommending. The 3 white areas to the right there, the bottommost is highlighting the subject parcel. Again, those properties are outlined in red. That is the recommendation for commercial. The purple, you will see, comprises Oliver, but then all the residential uses along Ridge Street. Should they come in for an application, there would be some support from the LDP to grant an industrial district to those properties. So in essence, what we're seeing happen again is that that purple, if you will, starting to shift more to Zoo Parkway. Again, land use plan recommending a commercial use of this property in the primary growth. So this application is slightly different than that plan. When we look at the specific text of the land development plan, we find that there are about 6 goals that seem to be supportive of this application. Those are on the screen, as are those goals or policies that tend to be more negative towards the application. We believe there are 3 of those. When we take everything into account and formalize a recommendation, the staff believes that the land development plan, recognizing Oliver Rubber's large footprint, did contemplate limited industrial expansion in this area. The map, as I said, forecasts that industrial growth to occur along Ridge Street and not along Zoo Parkway. But as you saw from the photos, and if you've been down there, there remains a very stable neighborhood of homes on Ridge Street, and that industrial growth that we were expecting to happen there did not occur. But instead, City Council authorized a quasi-industrial use adjacent to this property, and then this evening we have another industrial application. Approval of this request, when combined with that prior action from Council, we believe would accommodate the limited industrial growth that the land development plan envisioned while preserving residential continuity that exists on Ridge Street. While there's always uncertainty when we have a general non-conditioned zoning district that's proposed, the ordinance does contain certain measures addressing light, noise, odor, parking, landscaping requirements will still be applicable. Those will remain in effect even with a general approval here this evening. Furthermore, this is a relatively small size property, and we have adjacent B2 and B2 conditional zoning around it. So for all those reasons, and when we look at the land development plan in its totality, our recommendation to the planning board was to approve this request. The planning board reviewed this application at its meeting last month, concurred with the staff recommendation. So therefore, this application comes to you with both a favorable recommendation for both staff and the planning board. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Okay. Anyone in the room that would like to speak for this request? Come on up, Mr. Crumley.
Mayor, I need to sign this paper.
Please.
Do I need to sign this?
Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Bob Crumley, members of the council. My family company owns this piece of property that we're trying to rezone here on Zoo Parkway. We've owned, the JBBC actually stood for Jeff Brantley and Bob Crumley. Jeff's no longer involved in the company. We bought him out earlier this year. We had great hopes for this piece of property. We spent over $150,000 widening Zoo Parkway. We put sleeves for sewer underneath the road. We have three existing DOT curb cuts on this piece of property. And we believe, quite frankly, wrongly, that business would go down Zoo Parkway, and it's not. We have offered this property to everything from hotels to retail I offered, actually, there's a restaurant coming to Asheboro. I offered to put them on Zoo Parkway with a guarantee that if their business didn't make it, I would personally buy back the property within 5 years. We have done everything that we could do in the last 14 years, including paying taxes on this property for 14 years, to get people to come down Zoo Parkway. My concern is that now, with the increase in this water line that's going down 64, that there's going to be continued no reason for anybody to come down Zoo Parkway and build commercial. Now, there'll be development down Zoo Parkway, to be sure, housing, to be sure, but I am, having built one of the better shopping centers in Asheboro and having built office buildings in Asheboro, I don't see, quite frankly, anytime soon that a true commercial shopping center is going to come down that way. Now, I also think that that's problematic given the fact that, have it on good information, that the old B.B. Walker building may be torn down very quickly. There's approximately 22 acres there that is likely to be developed commercially, which is going to further insulate our piece of property from commercial development down Sioux Parkway. And so we've struggled as a family trying to figure out, okay, what do we do to return this investment? I mean, we just going to continue to pay taxes on it or forever and not be able to utilize it, or what are we going to do? And we thought we had a solution to that. Earlier this year, my daughter came before you and asked you to rezone 2 parcels of this property, which you did, and she had high hopes of putting a business there. She had especially high hopes considering the fact that President Biden, in his State of the Union address, said that there was a need for the business that she wanted to put there. Also, she thought it was a substantial opportunity because she had the endorsement of one of the world's greatest expert in the field and what she intended to do at that location. She had, I think it was 17 endorsement letters from everybody from local folks in the General Assembly or political folks all the way down to business folks who said that, that this was needed, what she wanted to do. Unfortunately, even though she's 100% female-owned company, she was denied a grant by the United States Department of Agriculture. So she's not going to be able to do on that parcel of land what she had hoped to do. We came into this with this rezoning as a possibility of assisting her in that process at that location, assuming that if she could get the grant. Unfortunately, she didn't get the grant. So now we're in a situation where, quite frankly, the rezoning will help us as a family because it will give us one more arrow in our quiver to possibly find somebody that would go there. I don't think retail, commercial is going to go there. Like I said, I offered to build buildings for everybody from a massage therapy group and physical therapy group to doctors. We talked to pharmacy companies here in town about putting a pharmacy down there. We talked to an apartment builder here in Asheboro about building apartments there. We've talked and talked and talked. And so I understand some reluctance you might have, given the fact that it is a blanket rezoning. But I would say that one key factor in the planning board's decision, and I think in staff's decision, we're talking about 1.6 acres here. I can't build a Toyota plant unless I build it like 8 million feet tall. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not, but the things that fit under a company that could do, they could sell a product, but they could also make it there, you know, would be helpful to us on this particular property. And may down the road, who knows, maybe my daughter may wind up developing the 2 pieces of property that we gifted to her earlier this year, and maybe not. I mean, quite frankly, I just don't know. I will tell you the full piece of this property is not going to be able to be used. This is another argument, I think, for going ahead and approving this, because your risk as a community of having something go there that would be untoward or a bad thing and from an industrial standpoint is really limited, because even though I've got 1.6 acres, if you'll notice on the city map, there is a blue line going down the back of that property. Now, I will tell you that that has been a bone of contention for me in developing this piece of property from day one, because a blue line is supposed to be a stream. That is a ditch that the Schwartz Shopping Center and the Oliver Rubber dump their stormwater down that ditch when it rains. There is no water there unless it rains. But yet it's a blue line, and if you've been on the council very long, you know what a blue line does to you when it's on a map. And so I'm extremely limited. Out of that 1.6 acres, I can probably utilize maybe 1 acre. And if you also know, you know, cities, everybody likes to put sewer lines right down close to a creek or a low-lying area because it's low-lying. It all runs downhill. And so you can see by the topography issues that I've got on this piece of property. So I'm not going to be able to develop much, maybe an acre, 1.1 acre maybe at best, number one. So it's not like we're getting ready to approve something from an industrial standpoint that's going to be utilized for a lot of things that you might not want there. And there are even some things, I talked with the planning board about this. For example, in an industrial setting, you can put a graveyard, but under state law, a graveyard has to be at least 30 acres. So, you know, there's a lot of things that statutorily that are allowed in that zoning area can't be done here. It just can't be done. So I'm asking for you to go ahead and approve it. Give me another arrow in my quiver, and depending on what happens, it may or may not, you know, get developed anytime soon. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you all so much.
Any questions? Anyone else in the room that would like to address council regarding this request?
My name's Chris Scott. I live here in Asheboro, and I work as the in-house attorney for the North Carolina Zoo Society. So good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Manager Ogburn. So I'm here to speak for the Zoo Society, and maybe even for the zoo if I have Pat's blessing, in support of this application, and for a pretty specific reason. Mr. Crumley was just speaking a bit about some of the plans that his daughter may have had to develop the adjacent parcels to the one that he's applied to have rezoned. Well, it's our understanding, what we know, that they have another site in the county that they have thought about doing this same development of a meat processing plant. And that alternate site is located next to the zoo, adjacent to the zoo-owned property. And that area around the zoo, you know, it's been protected from industrial type uses for about 50 years. And there's been a real good reason for that protection. The zoo is the crown jewel of tourism here in Randolph County, and brings in tens of millions of dollars to Asheboro and the county every year. And you know, not only has it been protected for good reason, but it's also still growing. You know, I think some of the people in this room were at the groundbreaking for Asia back in August. So we've got, you know, big plans going out there, lots of things to grow, and we need the land that we have to grow into it, and we need that land to be secure and protected from industrial uses. So to build that proposed facility out there adjacent to the zoo would be against the character of that area and would be detrimental to the zoo. So it's better for the zoo, for the city of Asheboro, and for Randolph County that this city be located on the Zoo Parkway property that we've been talking about. That's adjacent to existing industrial uses. It's got development standards that will protect the character of the area, and that's a much better spot than putting it out in the county, out there right next to the zoo. So for those reasons, the zoo and the Zoo Society are in favor of this application that is before you now. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Scott? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Sure, come on up, Mr. Crumley. We'll be very informal tonight.
Thank you. I just, because of the statement made by the counsel for the zoo, I think I need to address a couple of things. Number one, my daughter doesn't own this piece of property, I do. My family company does, but she doesn't own this piece of property, I do. And number two, there were conversations with the zoo regarding her other zoning matter that she's got before the county commissioners, which quite frankly will come up next, or before the planning board of the county, which comes up next week. And unfortunately, the zoo chose not to engage with us on those issues. And so even though there was conversation here tonight that her use that she's proposing for her land at the zoo may not meet the current zoning requirements, quite frankly, she doesn't even need to rezone her land at the zoo to put what she wants to put down there because there's an agriculture overlay district around the zoo. But we're trying to be good neighbors here. You know, I've been a supporter of the zoo for a long time. My family has. We've donated tens of thousands of dollars to the zoo. But this particular rezoning is not directly linked or tied to the rezoning that my daughter has for her property in the county next week. I'm asking you to rezone this for me, to allow me to have another quiver. I don't know that my family will ever have a business on that piece of land ourselves. I don't know that. I will tell you that when she was denied the grant by the federal government, that it significantly reduced the likelihood that we'll ever be able to develop that with her use, that she came before you specifically to get rezoned last year. It may happen, but the cost of developing a project like that is so strong, just like the cost of developing a fire department is so strong that without those federal grants, it makes it sometimes very difficult. And so we support the zoo, we care about the zoo, we always have, but this zoning is not tied to that zoning.
If I may.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree. We're here tonight to hear a straight rezoning. No use of this or any other parcel is germane to the subject matter, and I'm not sure how this all got started. It has nothing to do with the subject matter before us tonight. Counselor?
You've made accurate.
It's a straight rezoning.
Like I said, that's why I said I wasn't going to make this discussion until.
Well, it is written going on down the road or nothing that you're.
Exactly.
You're.
All right.
Right,
You're correct. I'm
Thank you, Bob.
clueless.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you.
We'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
In the interest of the fact that we're being very informal tonight, is there any rebuttal? Okay, great, thanks. Now, all right, is there anyone else in the room that wants to address this request? And I'll ask the council for their thoughts on this matter.
Mayor, based on the planning board's recommendation and the staff's recommendation, I move that we approve the consistency.
Mayor, can I ask a question first, please?
Yes, sir.
If they locate some kind of business to go in this new zoning, will it have to come before us and let us look at it before it's actually, they can actually start to build it? You understand what I'm saying?
Straight rezone.
So,
It will come before the building, for Trevor, or to make sure all plans are in full compliance with our ordinances and the building inspection department.
Correct. The zoning approval would become administrative. It would be handled at the staff level. For this particular property, should it be put in a general district? That's the difference between a conditional zoning district and what we're seeing here this evening is that that approval authority would be at the staff level should you approve it this evening.
so y'all would make sure, the list you had about the odor and the noise and all that, y'all would make sure that
Yes,
that.
yes, sir.
addressed.
Yes, that's our role is to ensure compliance with the city code.
Okay, now, I believe you were making a motion.
Yes, Mayor, based on staff's recommendation and planning board's recommendation, I move that we approve the consistency statement as it relates to the weighing of the issues in the land development plan towards approval and approve the rezoning request in as much as it's adjacent to an I-2 and a limited application of the size of the lot.
Thanks, sir. I have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Thank you. Item 7B, if y'all want to take a minute and slip out, that's fine. If you want to stay for another 30 or 40 minutes, that's fine too. All right. 7B, request for an authorization to enter into an agreement with North Carolina Department of Transportation for the city to participate in the cost to construct sidewalks as part of TIP number U5813, which are improvements to 64 from the Asheboro bypass east to 7374 US 220. Mr. Nolan.
Thank you, Mayor. We have received a draft of the proposed agreement between the city and the State Department of Transportation, as the mayor said, to participate in the cost to add sidewalks to this highway project. This project would widen, is slated to widen 64 from approximately West Chapel Road to east of the interstate. It also includes the reconstruction of that interstate interchange. At the city's request, and based on prior support from the city council via direction you've given us, as well as the adopted transportation plan that the council approved back in 2014, DOT has designed this project to incorporate sidewalks on both sides of Highway 64 and Albemarle Road from where the project enters the Asheboro corporate limits from the west, which would be at Fisher Circle, Mack Road intersection, to the project's end east of the interstate. In total, this is approximately 1,300 linear feet of sidewalk when you total the segments on both sides of each roadway. Under the agreement, the construction inspection would be managed by DOT, and the city would only provide the proportional amount of the additional project cost that is necessitated by including the sidewalk. Approval of this agreement would require the city to cost share in the amount of about $138,000, which is 30% of that proportional share of the additional costs. And the amount would not be due until near the end of the project, which is scheduled to take upwards of 3 years from the time it gets going. Based on our experience, especially our recent experience, this is an excellent value for the city. We do recommend council authorize us in proceeding with procuring execution of this agreement, and we do ask that in the form of a motion here this evening.
Questions of Mr. Noble?
It is a bargain.
Absolutely. We get criticized quite a bit for lack of sidewalks, and this is a great opportunity. At a bargain price.
Yes, sir.
Questions?
I just, who's gonna be walking through there? I mean, we need the sidewalks from like Park Street where the, fast food places are. That's where we need the sidewalks. So, I mean, who's gonna be walking through the interstate? I don't know. I mean,
Nobody in the right mind, but they say we need them.
Well, this is when we, when the part you mentioned, when it was widened, the city didn't even, the program didn't exist, or the city didn't take advantage of it, one or the other, so.
I understand that, but I see cute,
We have lots of foot traffic from the high school all the way out to the bypass.
I see school kids walking down through there, going to the fast food places all the time, going over the, and that's where we need it at.
As I said about a month ago in one of our recent meetings, if we had required sidewalks 20 years ago, we'd have sidewalks all up and down Dixie Drive. We have an opportunity here for DOT to build these sidewalks for a nominal contribution.
20 cents on the dollar.
We better jump all over it.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I mean.
And I will note this.
In years coming, they may be useful for something, but I
Well,
just see right along there, I can't see who's gonna be walking through there.
I think
Cloverleaf, I mean, who's gonna be doing it?
Well,
if you tie this piece down in this contract, it's easier to go back to
I
DOT
understand. Okay.
with the piece that connects back to the high school.
And I will say, from looking at the plans, this would actually end at the McDonald's sidewalk on the south side of 64. So we start to, we will then be just left with the segment from that point to Park. And so this goes a long way.
If you'll notice,
closing those gaps.
when you ride through out there, the they did not tear down the building at Shanna Lane, and they don't have any intention to, but they did tear down Select Homes. They did tear down the little strip mall there at Lambert Drive. And there is a good chance over the next 5 years, there'll be a hotel or something pop up on one of those spots.
I can see that. I can
So
see what my.
more and more foot traffic will be headed that way. I mean,
And I just see it as a chance to improve walkability. That's a good thing.
which we get criticized for. a lot.
Absolutely. Well, it came up at the chamber retreat as something we need to work on, so we need to do it.
Right there,
Really?
it's on stage time.
20 cents on it.
Exactly.
All right.
That was up there.
Airport's 10 cents on the dollar.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve the authorization to enter an agreement with DOT for the participation in
Have a
construction.
motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Heath. Discussion, further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Noble, you have an announcement of public workshop?
Yes, sir. We wanted to make you aware that as part of our efforts, continuing efforts to update the land development plan, we will be out in the community later this month. We're hoping to talk with folks about growth and development that maybe we have not reached through the surveying and the focus group conversations that have occurred previously. So to that end, we will be out at 3 locations at the end of the month. We're going to spend some time at the DSS office on November 28th. We'll be at RCC. Thank you, Kelly, for facilitating us being there on November 29th. And we'll be camped out at the library on November 30th. We're going to be there for several hours each day. Our goal really is to talk with folks informally as they're coming and going from those various places about their expectations or concerns about the city's growth in the coming years. We'll incorporate that into our draft plan and hopefully soon thereafter get that draft document to you for review. So just want you to make you aware that these events are upcoming.
Thanks.
Trevor, how are these going to be communicated, just through the regular avenues?
Yes, ma'am. We'll take any help we can get in communicating those, but they will be on our social media and website and through the traditional media.
Okay, Mr. Leonard, come on up, buddy.
Mayor.
On item 8A,
Mayor.
I'm getting to that. On item 8A, I'm sorry, on item 8, the annexation request for Cone Health, it's been determined that Ms. Redding has a conflict, and I would like to have a motion to recuse Ms. Redding from this discussion.
Mayor, I move that we allow Ms. Redding to be excused from discussion in this item.
Have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Ms. Redding, you can keep your seat.
Thank you.
All right, this is a request for council action on Cone Health's petition for Asheboro to annex in excess of 65 acres of land on the west side of I-73, I-74.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff has received a petition for this portion of a portion of property which contains 4 pins and containing a total of 69.19 acres on the southwest quadrant of Sparrow Road and the interchange of I-73-74 and owned by Cone Health. You have in your packet a resolution prepared by the city attorney that directs city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
I entertain a motion to, I'm sorry, are there any questions of Mr. Leonard?
A litany, but let's move on.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve by reference a resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the annexation petition.
Mayor, I move we approve the resolution directing the clerk to investigate sufficiency of the petition by reference.
Have a motion to approve by reference. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks is the second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and
Thank you, sir. In anticipation of your action, city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency of the petition. In light of the certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the December 8th, 2022 city council meeting on the requested, question of the requested annexation, and staff recommends adoption by reference.
okay, questions? May I have a motion to approve the setting the date of the public hearing, approved by reference, please?
So move.
Go ahead, Ms. Heath.
Can I just say so move, or do I need to be more
No, that's,
complicated than that?
that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
She didn't speak into the microphone, Mayor.
I'm trying.
I'm-
So move.
Doesn't help me.
Is this thing on?
All right, and may I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor of approving this, this resolution by reference, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Resolution is approved. All right. On question of public streets, Mr. Leonard, you have an update on traffic study at the intersection of Salisbury Street and Old Lexington Road.
Yes, sir. Staff had originally spoke with DRMP concerning a traffic study, safety study for this parcel or this area intersection. You got it? DRMP was unable to complete the work in the intended time frame. Therefore, they recommended their sister company, Ramey Kemp Associates, RKA. The city has been in contact and received a proposal from Ramey Kemp Associates for the traffic safety study in question at the intersection of West Salisbury Street and Lexington Road in the city of Asheboro, and work is anticipated to be completed in the coming weeks. We hope to have their findings at the December council meeting.
Okay, questions regarding what Michael just reported to us? All right, thank you. On item B, once again, it has been determined that Ms. Redding has a conflict on consideration of a resolution of intent to permanently close a section of West Pritchard Street. And I will entertain a motion. I'm sorry, what did I miss? I'll entertain a motion to recuse Ms. Redding from this discussion on item B.
Mayor, I move we excuse Ms. Redding from the discussion of item 8B due to her conflict.
We have a motion to recuse Ms. Redding. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Redding, you are recused from this discussion. Go right ahead, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a consideration of a resolution of intent to permanently close a section of West Pritchard Street, and you have in your packets that resolution prepared by the city attorney to permanently close approximately 155 linear feet. Staff recommends adoption by reference.
Questions? No questions. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve the resolution to permanently close a portion of West Pritchard Street by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell to consider a resolution of intent to permanently close a section of West Pritchard Street. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Do we need a motion to seat her again?
No, sir.
Just for item B?
The motion made it clear it was just for that one item, so
Okay,
Ms.
great.
Redding's
All right.
back on the board.
Mr. Leonard, you have, a request for approval of a resolution authorizing the exemption of competitive bidding requirements due to sole source products as related to Zoo City Sportsplex.
I've got some samples here I'm gonna hand out, let you kind of pass around.
Oh, you're asking for our expert opinion.
To give you an idea of what we're looking at.
Got a couple thousand square feet of that?
If you can't,
Second that.
as you can tell, it's quite a bit denser than the play surface. They're packed in there a lot tighter. And it's used more for residential and for slopes. And because we've got the volleyball courts are tiered, there's gonna be slopes in between, so this will hold the sand better. So you have in your packets a resolution for your consideration for a contract between the City of Asheboro and Hicks Landscaping Contractors, Inc., the preferred contractor for field turf. This is a field turf product, and this is for their installation of their Max Natural Easy Turf product, which is what you have. A couple of those are 2-inch and one's 1.5. We're looking at the 1.5-inch depth. This will be for the final grading, installation of drainage, and installation of approximately 16,000 square foot of the field turf Max Natural Easy Turf product, 1.5-inch synthetic turf. For the area approximately 15 foot wide around the exterior of the beach volleyball courts, and within around the perimeter and between the beach volleyball courts at the Zoo City Sportsplex. The total for this work is $208,900, and staff recommends adoption.
And this is primarily to keep grass clippings out of the sand and kind of delineate the sand and the grass.
That's correct.
Natural grass.
That's correct.
I can see it holding up to an immense amount of foot traffic.
That's
and not having Randolph County mud perimeter.
Yes, sir.
And when you mow, you're not blowing your clippings.
The clippings onto the sand.
Okay. All right. Questions?
Well, just, Michael, just as a point of reference, we don't have a resolution, but I'm not, again, voting for the concept of it, but I don't see a copy of the resolution.
Did Joe not put that in there?
Yes,
It was in there?
yes.
I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Maybe it got stuck in the.
We only had one number 8 as it was, a 8A and a 8B.
I have a 9A in my packet.
Yeah, but we're on 8.
We're still on 8.
We're on 8. Yeah. It is not.
Although,
Eddie, if it suits you, you can build.
Want me to go make some copies?
well, the truth be told,
If we get it.
item 9A is describing what you're talking about. That's the money for it, but that's usually after we say we want to do it, and then she moves the money around.
That'll be the budget amendment, yes, sir.
All right, so
You don't do
in the
tax
absence of a resolution, we just,
Michael, is there one?
Yes,
And I think Holly said she saw,
I have it right here.
do you? Michael can make a copy if you don't, Ron, if you don't mind.
okay. Absolutely.
Since the DOT is giving such a big discount, and we get such a big discount on the sidewalk, would it be possible, if it's not possible, I understand it's not possible, but would it be possible for them to work on the sidewalk that they were going to do over by the center that for some reason didn't happen?
We still have that in the DOT hopper. We're still trying to get that funded, and it's still in the DOT process. It's a very,
I'm thinking if we got a good deal.
The reason the good deal is coming is based on average unit prices that they base their estimates on. When they let a $75 to $100 million project, that's what the sidewalks get thrown in at.
Right.
So if we would love to have a $50 million project down MLK, and you get you some $100,000 sidewalk.
Also, this
It's all in there somewhere.
It's unfortunate that when
It's nuts.
when DOT, all these financial difficulties surfaced at DOT, it looks like they threw the 52 cards up in the air and let them fall where they may, and everything got kind of shuffled around, and stuff we were expecting is kind of falling off the timeline. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but
And
we're
this-
still working on that.
And this is.
It's not much
particular
difference in reality.
Is the,
Just throw it up in the air.
part of the US highway system, so
Oh.
the recent, infrastructure bill, that flooded the states with money for the US system, which is the interstate and the US highway system.
It was a good try, though.
We're still chasing.
Yeah.
We're still chasing.
But that includes
Says, I do something like
sidewalks
that.
from
I throw it up in the air and whatever, she keeps.
Salisbury to Ditch
Right.
Drive. Yeah.
Right, we're still chasing that project.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
While we're in formal mode, I just was curious, what happened with the first firm? Why did it not work out as far as the Collins study?
They couldn't get the work done. Too busy. They want, ask us to farm it out to one of their
Subsidiaries.
subsidiaries.
They've been telling me that several months.
We're hoping to have the results. They say they're ready to start, and we hope to have, what Michael reported to us was that we hope to have the results at the December meeting.
His question was how long it take them to get back to us and say they couldn't do it.
Oh, well,
I do not know the answer to that.
oh, I'm sorry.
90 days.
I couldn't.
90 days.
90
80
days.
days.
Pretty unreasonable.
The
wouldn't you
problem
say?
is, nobody's in the business of turning down work. They're gonna put you off and put you off and put you off till they can't put you off any longer, and then say, oops, we can't do it.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
Park's $117 a square yard, the best I can figure here. I might get the walkway down to the front door done. I sure
All
would
right,
love
we
to
have a resolution now.
All right. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution that we have before us, authorizing the exemption from competitive bidding for the sportsplex.
Have a motion to approve this by reference. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Michael.
We got $39 worth of it right here. 3 square feet.
All right,
Mayor,
what are we doing here?
Item 9, Mayor, Ms. Reeves sends her regrets. She's still recovering, and she thanks the council and the folks in the audience for their continued thoughts and prayers. And I'll do pinch hit for tonight. Item 9A and B, as Mr. Moffett just said, they're hand in glove to fund the project we just agreed to, the ongoing SO. Item 9A is an ordinance to amend the general fund, and that moves fund balance allocation of $209,000 to the contribution to the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund of $209,000, and that's in your packet, item 9A. And that's to comply with the budget requirements and to comply with generally accepted council principles, or commonly called GAP.
A and B or A?
Well, I will have to do them
Okay.
one at a time, Mayor, since the auditor will check them.
All right, may I have a motion to approve item A?
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the general fund in item 9A.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Mayor, 9B is ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund, so in the 9A, you moved it from fund balance to the general fund. In 9B, you moving it from the general fund to the beach volleyball court in the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund. So, this is the sister, ordinance to, item 9A, and we request approval.
Motion to approve.
Mayor, move approve the ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund by reference.
Second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item C.
All right, Mayor, item 9 and item C are the, go for the Sportsplex playground equipment item. They will need, as we did previous, they'll need a motion and a second to approve item C, and a motion and a second to approve item D. Item 9C is ordinance to amend the general fund, and this recognizes the YMCA's contribution of $300,000 that we had at our special workshop a couple or 3 weeks ago. And then the purchase and equipment is not to exceed $533,000. So, this is a fund balance allocation of $533,500. From the fund balance allocation, it's to line item 10-625-74-7400, which is a contribution to the Sportsplex Fund of that same amount, $533,500. And this is, again, to comply with the general fund operational budget and to comply with all the generally accepted accounting principles.
So, motion to approve item C, 9C.
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the general fund as reflected in item 9C by reference.
Have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item D, John.
Item D is Mayor shows a contribution of the, ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund. Shows a contribution from the general fund of $233,000 and a contribution from the general fund of $300,000 that you just recognized the Y's $300,000. And that goes to the playground item, 74-400-9005 and 74-400-9006. And this is again to comply with the budget requirements and the general accounting accepted principles. We request approval.
Motion to approve 9D, ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund for playground and other miscellaneous expenses.
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund as reflected in item 9D by reference.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9E.
9E, Mayor, is an ordinance to amend the water and sewer fund for the pump station construction at the Zoo City Sportsplex. It's in fund balance allocation of $500,000, moving from the retained earnings of the water fund to the contribution to the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund of $50,000, I'm sorry, $50,000 and $50,000. And that's to bring it into line so we can fund the pump station out of the water fund where it should, water and sewer fund where it should be funded. And this is again to comply with the budgetary requirements and the generally accepted accounting principles.
Is that in place? All built and in place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions? All right. I need a motion to approve 9E.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve an ordinance to amend the water and sewer fund related to the Zoo City Sportsplex pump stations as detailed in item 9E by reference.
Have a motion by Ms. Heath. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bell. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 9F.
9F, Mayor, is the sister to 9E. That moves the water fund that you just, $50,000 that you just allocated to the Zoo City Sportsplex Construction Fund of $50,000. And again, this complies with the statutory requirements of the budget laws as well as generally accepted accounting principles.
May I have a motion to approve 9F?
Mayor, I'll move we approve this ordinance to amend the Zoo City Sportsplex Fund pump stations as detailed in item 9F by reference.
Have a motion to approve by reference. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 9G.
9G, Mayor, an ordinance to amend the general fund for the McCrary Ballpark Playground and other miscellaneous expenses. This includes, the city recognizes, includes the recognition of the $50,000 gift we received from the Asheboro Kiwanis Club in September. And then the installation and purchase of the playground equipment is not to exceed $73,000. The city wishes to appropriate $23,000 to cover the installation of the equipment. And then the city desires also to appropriate $50,000 from the general fund for miscellaneous existing contracts outside the renovation scope of existing contracts. These are to prepare for the, this is to prepare for the, there'll be an amended contract, a new bid actually in December. This is to help prepare for the ticket booth and bathroom building. Sure be glad when Debbie gets back. Whereas, and we had moved this money, request this money be allocated $273,000. That's, again, that's $50,000 from the Kiwanis, $23,000 from the general fund, and a new $250,000. So we allocate totally $273,000. She's already shown the $50,000 as a revenue. That's why they don't quite add up if you're checking behind me. And then a contribution to the McCrary Ballpark Fund. So we request that be approved.
Motion to approve 9G.
Mayor, I'll move we approve an ordinance to amend the general fund related to the McCrary Ballpark Playground and other miscellaneous expenses as detailed in item 9G by reference.
Have a motion to approve by reference. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 9H,
9H, Mayor, is the sister to 9G. It's an ordinance to amend the ballpark McCrary improvements funds. So, in 9G, you just moved it to the general fund, that $273,000. This moves it now to the construction project, for the line items 65, 404, 9,000, and 65, 405. And we request this be approved.
motion to approve 9H by reference.
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the McCrary Ballpark Improvement Fund as reflected in 9H by reference.
Motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I is ordinance to amend the general fund for vehicle purchase.
Yes, Mayor, this is, ordinance to amend the general fund. We have purchased a vehicle here at City Hall. The last vehicle purchased was in 2017, and that's a used, like a 2005 vehicle. We need to have a seconded vehicle at the City Hall. We need a 4x4 truck for emergency preparedness purposes. We are asking that line item 565, 53402, in the street department be reduced by 36,000, and item 500, 574 capital outlay be increased by 36,000. So the net increase on the budget is the same, it's just moved from one department to another. When we need the asphalt supplies, we'll get it from another department. We're starting to turn into the new year here. So we request approval by that, Mayor.
All right, motion to approve 9I by reference for vehicle purchase.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve this ordinance to amend the general fund related to a vehicle purchase as detailed in item 9I by reference.
I have a motion by Ms. Heath. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9J is ordinance to amend general fund for facade grant.
Yeah, Mayor, we have an existing facade grant program. through Downtown Asheboro, Inc. They have requested that we did not fund it through the budgetary process. We did fund, the facility, and they're requesting a fund balance application of $100,000 to continue that project, and we recommend approval from the fund balance to community redevelopment.
Mr. Mayor, before you take any action on that, out of an abundance of caution, because of the statutory provisions relating to board members who serve on the board of a nonprofit, we need to probably be safer to have a recusal on that before you take a vote.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, good.
We need
Yes.
a motion to recuse, Ms. Heath from discussion on 9J, and I am an ex officio member of that. I'm a non-voting member. I should be recused.
Exactly. The motion should recuse both Mayor Smith and Councilmember Heath.
Thank you for reminding me.
I would move that we allow the recusal of Mayor Smith in the preparation of this item and Ms. Heath from consideration of this item due to their apparent conflict.
You have a motion.
9J.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion passes. If-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Now we would request that 9J be approved. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve 9J by reference for the facade fund balance?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the general fund relative to the facade by reference.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Ms. Redding, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, back to Kay.
Item 9K.
9K is our,
Go back to sleep.
This is the last item we have in this item, Mayor. Much like 7B, where we approved a work with DOT on a project, this is the same type of project. NCDOT is replacing Bridge 75038 over Cedar Fork Creek on SR 3255 Farmer Road. We have an existing 2-inch water main out there. We don't put those anymore. They're really old and don't really serve a purpose as they did that was probably put in the 60s. So that same time, since we have to relocate it, we're approving the betterment of, from a 2-inch to a 6-inch water main, and that's $25,000. So we can get all this work done for $72,000. We request that, it says on your, remember, it says on your here, fund balance, that's what we have to require, but it's actually retained earnings. It's different than the two different funds. That's $72,000, and then it goes to contracted maintenance, that'd be to DOT for $380,546 and $380,850,546, and that would be $72,000 total. So we request that project be approved, and this ordinance be approved.
Questions? All right, motion to approve 9K by reference.
Mayor, I'll move we approve the ordinance to amend the water and sewer fund related to the North Carolina Department of Transportation utility construction as detailed in item 9K by reference.
Have a motion by Ms. Heath. May I have a second?
Second.
Where'd that come from? Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sugg, you have, Asheboro Regional Airport items 10A is consideration of a Civil Air Patrol lease agreement.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to go into as much detail as you'd like, but it's the same agreement, just with the dates changed that we've had for a number of years. It's $1 a year. That's a 3-year term, $1 a year, $3 total for the Civil Air Patrol. That's your
That's all the detail we need.
That's what I thought. I thought you'd be happy with that.
Randolph and Mortimer.
All right, questions? It's just a renewal of the same lease we've been giving Air Patrol for a long time. Motion to approve item 10A.
Mayor, I move we approve the agreement and lease as reflected in item 10A.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. Motion carries. 10B is consideration of an amended fixed base operator lease agreement with Cardinal Air LLC.
And with your permission, I'll just go through the highlighted portions because there's only just a few changes in here. And it's labeled at the top 2023 because these changes do not take effect until January 1 of 2023. One of them is we're updating the schedule. So when you go to page 2 of 9, you'll see a highlighted amended October 2022. That's to add the corporate hangar under construction, O. Then if you turn on over where the really substantive change here is on page 3 of 9, it's adding to the leased premises to the fixed base operator, Cardinal Air, hangars B, C, D, E, F, K, N, and O. That's effective January 1, 2023. The purpose is to lease it to the FBO and allow the FBO to sublease to third-party tenants. The problem that we've encountered is the city council the city manager has authority delegated from the city council to approve any lease up to a year. But beyond that, we have to advertise for 30 days and the council has to take action itself if it's beyond a one-year lease. And when you calculate that, you have to include under the statute renewal periods. Well, it turns out that most of the hangars that we're leasing now, they've amortized their construction costs, so they went from being yearly payments at a nominal amount to recover their construction costs to now at a monthly rate, and they want to have month-to-month leases. That doesn't work well if the city council has to keep on coming back to hear it. So to set this up, now the fixed base operator they're leased the premises. They take charge of managing the rental operations, including billing and collecting the rent. In consideration of them doing that, they get to retain 35% of the rent that they collect. The balance comes back to the city each month. And so those are all the leases and hangars impacted. You'll see where it lays down or lays out the specific obligations each. There is a little side item. A request came for the city to pick up the bill for internet connectivity at the terminal, so that's now included. It's just more broadly defined utilities. Then the other changes relate to, if you go to page 6 of 9, talking about the hangars I just read out, it talks about the lessee's responsibility. That would be Cardinal Air, the FBO, manages leasing of hangars to third parties on a month-to-month basis, including rental billing and collections, retains 35% of rental fees collected. Rental rates must be approved by the Asheboro Airport Authority. Rental management responsibilities begin January 1, 2023. The city will pay structural maintenance, and it pays the utilities that are not billed directly to the subtenants. Some of them have meters, but because the FBO does not take over that. And then it takes care of payment is the other amendment, effective January 1, 2023, and continuing through the remainder of the term of this agreement, which will still, just like it did before, end in 2025. The lessee, which is Cardinal Air, shall retain 35% of all rental payments collected from tenants subleasing hangars B, C, D, E, F, K, N, and O. The balance of all rental payments collected from the tenants subleasing the listed hangars shall be paid by Cardinal Air to the city. Payment shall be made to the city on or before the 10th day of each month for rental payments collected during the prior month. And so those are the changes, the amendments. Everything else stays the same. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If that meets with your approval, I ask for you to approve it.
Just curious, if there's a default in a lease payment, does Cardinal Air still have to pay us the rental rate?
We're leaving it at getting them to say, you pay us what you managed to collect.
35% of not.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Of course. All right.
Does that conclude you?
That is. I'll answer any questions or recommended option.
Questions?
I think it's
Okay.
as we discussed.
And I think, obviously, that Mr. Suggs done yeoman work, as he always does on this, and, there's, Karen McGraw's back with Cardinal LLC and the, aviation, airport authorities enthused about it, and staff is too, and, we continue to have lots of activity out there.
Makes a big difference. Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moffett, second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You have in front of you, council, a schedule for the 2023 regular meeting, the general schedule as it would be. And we have a couple of conflicts for your consideration, and we're setting next year's schedule. Each of you have that in front of you? The proposal is a week later for July, and for November, because of the way Veterans Day falls, is celebrated on Friday, instead of November 11th, it'll be November 10th. Your meeting's the 9th, and staff is recommending that we do a meeting on Wednesday, the 8th.
Just because people are all, school's out.
School's out on Friday, and some schools, Asheboro City Schools.
All schools take it.
Okay, I was thinking about election day.
I'm going the way
City
in July,
schools
whatever
stayed
you want to
stayed in, county schools were off. All right, so what's your pleasure, council?
I'm a good either way on July. The November seems immaterial too. Man, I go to 6th or 13th. So anybody got any other preference? What are we gonna do?
I will say, Mr. Mayor, we're just looking for your guidance, because whatever you say now, we don't need a motion. I'll bring an ordinance back based on what you say at the December meeting on.
Anybody
consent
have any
agenda.
real heartburn over the week of the 4th? Or would the consensus be to go to the next week, the 13th?
Sounds good.
All right, and then November,
I finally have a party.
anybody good on, everybody good on the 8th, on a Wednesday night meeting for November?
After Ms. Church.
Okay, we'll, got your marching orders.
Yes, sir.
It makes it real, it's an advertising and administrative burden, when you start counting them real close, or they're real spread out.
Okay, we have, an item requiring, closed session for discussion with our attorney. And, wanted to let everyone in the audience know that we will suspend the live streaming of the meeting during this closed session. We will resume the live streaming after we come back to regular session, but at that point, the meeting's pretty much over. Just, if you wanna hang around, you're welcome to hang around. Those of you that are watching, the live streaming, just know that we're going into closed session, and the live streaming will be suspended during that time. And I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss a matter within the attorney-client privilege.
Mayor, I move we go into closed session to discuss a matter with our council.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We will go into closed session at this point. Appreciate all of you being here. If you'd like to hang around and come back to the open session, I can't tell you how long it'll be, but once we finish our discussion, we will resume the meeting. And if you have a copy of the, agenda, you know that at that point, it's just really discussion of what's on the calendar. And
A rousing discussion. A rousing
And,
discussion.
and what's on the calendar is for the council to know where we need to be at a certain time. So, do what you wish. We will clear the room now. Thank you for being here.